Chris, John for KaijuPop.com, and today we're having a look at Wayward Souls on iOS. This is by Rocket Cat Games, who did Super Quick Hook, Hook Champ. Those are the things they are most famous for. But I think the most relevant to this game was Mage Gauntlet, which was an action RPG they put out about 2-3 years ago now. And what Wayward Souls is basically Mage Gauntlet, the roguelike. If you played that game, if you played Mage Gauntlet, you'll be really familiar with the gameplay mechanics of it, but this is in a roguelike-like kind of scenario. Is it roguelike or roguelike-like? I never know where to put how many likes in there, because it's such a crowded genre. It's almost become now, it's almost cliche to the point where you're brave to put out a roguelike because it's so hard to distinguish yourself from everybody else. But what we've got here is 3 different characters that you can go in at the start, and more that you unlock later on. 3 more. I am super early into this game. I'm also super rubbish at it, so I haven't opened up everybody yet. And but I've predominantly been playing as the warrior and a little bit as the mage. I haven't played as the rogue very much, but I'll show you a little bit of each of these characters. Before you get going, there's a little bit of character customization. So death is permanent and stages are random, because this is roguelike. But the idea is much like with something like Rogue Legacy. You want to get as much cash in the dungeon as you can and save that up so you can purchase upgrades, and they will help you get further the next time around. Basically, is the idea. So let's jump in. So basically you'll be going to all of these different areas on the map, and I've only opened up the mines here because I'm rubbish. So you wake up in the prison cells, in a prison cell sort of thing, in a dungeon, and everything else it's all randomized. There's an intro sequence that I think is the same, that you can play, like a playable prologue that's the same for everything. I think are scripted, and then the rest of it's all random. But it does interesting things with narrative. Every time you go to a floor you haven't visited before, you get a little bit more on each character's backstory, which is cool. They've each got their own separate reasons for being in this dungeon. And there are also kind of scripted events that happen. I'm not sure we'll get to them, but especially things like boss fights, and there will be occasional things that drive the warrior here, who's after sort of an ex-comrade that screwed him over, sort of thing. So I'm using the left-hand side of the screen to move in traditional fashion, and the right-hand side of the screen to attack. To do a basic attack, you can hold down on the button to charge one up, which like Mage Gauntlet did, and also each character has a separate defensive move and offensive move. If I swipe up, I've got a throwing axe, and I can also block by swiping down, which gives me about 2 seconds of blockability sort of thing. But every time I do block a strike, my shield gets closer to breaking. So you can see I can only successfully block 6 times. You can see in the top right there. But my ability to block stuff, that's when I spend coins in between rounds, that's the sort of thing that I'm upgrading. So I've gone the wrong way here. Basically the idea is you want to go deeper and deeper into the dungeon, and get as far as you can, as is the genre's want, I suppose. And the things you're attacking are kind of randomized, and the rooms are randomized, obviously. And yeah, it's you kind of know what you're going into, especially if you played Mage Gauntlet. I think what's different, the big difference between that and this is how much darker it is, and Rocket Cat's stuff. I think straight from the get-go with was it Super Quick Hook or Hook Chain that came first, whichever came first, and then through. The most recent thing they did was this endless runner called Punch Quest, and that all had very silly humor in it, whereas this is very dark, and it's kind of, I like the aesthetic of it, whereas everything else they've done is very cheery, sort of 16-bit pixel art stuff. This is, you know, much more on a darker edge, kind of, you get a real Square Enix vibe from it, kind of Final Fantasy VI kind of. Yeah, it's more of a Final Fantasy style of look rather than, say, a style of appearance, which I think Mage Gauntlet was. So occasionally you come across these statues, which give you a little bit of a protection bump. Much like with roguelikes, very difficult game, but consistently fair and awesome. So yeah, the other thing is when I come across these fires, I can forge upgrades. So I can upgrade my shield here, and I can choose between one of two things. So strength, physical, weak to magic, or a durable thing, but it's heavy. It's usually two perks randomly plucked from a deck. Although, I mean, different, depending on the character, say, toss dynamite and make it very difficult to pass. Different, you know, the different characters you play as kind of determine your playstyle a great deal. As I say, I haven't played as the rogue at all. I basically only just got in this game, I have played as the mage. The mage is much more, as you might imagine, kind of a magic-focused character. So a lot of her attacks are ranged, and it's a lot more of a defensive style that she has. Whereas with the warrior, it wants you to wade in and slash. But you kind of have to get in and then get out, because it's really difficult, because the warrior only holds his shield up for a really short period of time. You have to be really good at timing your shield swipes so that you can actually block an attack. It's not just a matter of holding your shield up and then being fine. It actually takes a lot of skill. Let's move down. Yeah, you get a nice sort of range of visual, you know, it's a varied look, although in general it's fairly dark. It's not entirely that way. It seems to be getting darker and darker, but there are some times where you do just get like this ray of sunshine that sort of provides you with a look, which is cool. So you see, I just picked up a sort of special magic attack, which if you tap on the top right, you can get a description of it. So this will boost my movement speed for a short period of time. So it's just a consumable, and you can tap that and into it. Despite the fact that roguelikes are 10 a penny, especially on PC at the moment, and they're the genre du jour, there's not too many sort of action-based roguelikes on iOS, so there's not too many games like this, and that fills a niche quite well. I think it's there's plenty of very traditional roguelikes, but this more sort of action-focused thing is reasonably rare. And I really enjoyed Mage Gauntlet, although that was a really long time ago now. I think Rocket Cat are good at doing sort of action controls, which is normally quite difficult to pull off on iOS. There gets to be a point at some point in the game where I don't know where you get more sort of where it's get more reckless on a run the further I go into it, or more careful, but because you're never going to get to the end, this early in the game, so it is just a thing of, let's get the point. So there comes a point where your playstyle, my playstyle, kind of changes midway through things, where it's just like, it goes from, let's see what comes next, to let's get as much cash as we can before we cop it, because unlike in real life, you can take it with you. And that's one thing I should say. I forged the heavy shield here earlier on, but that isn't a permanent upgrade. That's only for the length of this game. So it's the upgrades you get in the shop in between that are permanent, but this one here is just for as long as I'm playing this game. So do I want to go slow? Well, probably not. I want to counteract that shield. So better attack becomes stationary, but reflects magical tiles. That's one damage with a strong attack. Become a bit more of a tank. He is moving like a deal seamer. So you have to take everything into consideration, and that's all good. And one thing that's very common with roguelikes on other platforms and indie, I feel terrible keeping saying roguelike over and over again in this video. Well, that's a thing. Hang on, we'll go to that. I don't know, what can we say? Random. I need a gaming thesaurus for roguelike. Randomly generated permadeath adventure. They tend to have good music as well, and this is no exception. The soundtrack really is phenomenal, and particularly tune. I'll just sort of shut up for a bit so you can listen to it. So I managed to successfully pull off a block there, but I'm having a hard time wading through. Wow, I'm really moving slowly. Even here. Alright. So you saw a few seconds ago I picked up a hat. This is a Rocket Cat kind of staple, and I guess this is the only sort of concession to humor that's in this game. Is that in every game they've put out, they've always had different hats for the character to wear, and the hats are familiar if you've played previous Rocket Cat games, or there's different ones in there. Some of their games they've assigned perks to each of these hats, whereas with this they're purely cosmetic. But I think there's something that actually looks quite cute, but a lot of the hats for me, they just don't quite look right on a character, especially if we go with this one. It kind of looks wrong because it's running around, so I almost prefer to not use them. But and I think it's one thing. I think you can actually buy hats. I'm not sure. I'll look in the menu when I die, which might be. But yeah, that's the only in-app purchase here. I think the game is so reliant on its economy, because that's how it gates progression. Is that you need to get enough money to level up your guy. So so that if there were in-app purchases of, hey, buy coin packs, that would kind of just break the game. So there isn't any of that nonsense here. It is just pure pay for what you get and play the game, and that's, you know, very good news. Let's see, I think I've gone somewhat lost at some point, so I can help you. Yeah, I need to go over to the left. So I should be able to just listen to this kind of experimental as we go. It's all kicked off now. There we go. Let's get you. So in theory, I could have used this dynamite to knock off the monsters, but I've just done it. Just swiped it for no reason and screwed myself here. So now I'm gonna have to either, yeah, do or die, blast through, and to see if I can get to the next set of stairs to the next floor. Oh, which I did. Will be much more cautious. You do get a little bit. There you go. A little bit of a bump in health at each floor that you get to. But yeah, just listen to some of this music. There's a link in the menu to just get the soundtrack off of Bandcamp, which I may well have to do. But yeah, that's the end of Life the Warrior there. But I managed to get 5 floors in, which is about as good as I've ever gotten. You can share that stuff as well if you want. And yeah, now I've sufficiently progressed, I can buy new upgrades to boost my dude. There we go. So, that there's kind of sort of a tree sort of thing, you know. It's like unlock X, you know, I have to get a certain number of upgrades for this frosty thing to be able to open up Iron Flesh. So there's a little bit of a tree to that, but yeah, I mean that's the game in a nutshell. Yeah, I don't even think, there isn't even a shop to buy hats, so it is just very much a pure experience, which is a change and cool. Yeah, I've never played as the Rogue before, so let's jump in here just so you can see some of the story stuff. I won't last long because this is a really sort of low-level character. Here we go. So, whoever you are, you sort of start in this same space. So her offensive move is a dash. All the swipe-based moves are dealt with the blue bar underneath the red one. So offensively and defensively, she just runs. Wow, so she's the speedy level type. I'm not even sure we'll get to the first cutscene. This isn't how I like to play games. So I suppose in a Dark Souls, there are classes that are easier to relate with than others. Those classes are really difficult to deal with, especially as it seems to be giving me some pretty tough enemies over there. Because her swipe moves are just dashes, she doesn't even have ammo to deal with. Speed you up so those frames there. get to the first floor. Yeah. And that didn't even do much. So definitely, if you want a challenge-based lure, guys. So yeah, as you go in between floors, you get a little bit of backstory here. She's just in it for the money. She's not going to get very much of it, I don't think. No, she's got backstories and stuff. Yeah, so that kind of, I don't know, very, it's very action heavy and all about that, but and fast moving. And sort of, you know, there's a lot of stat-based stuff and dice rolls going on under the surface, which I'm cool with. It's like, you know, have that geeky stuff but hide it in the background. It's good. And in fact, you know, I mean, the whole game is really good, really slick, really well put together. It's a really crowded market with, you know, with things like, with everything from Old Legacy to Spelunky in a sense. You know, this genre or things that go for the same kind of style, that there's so many of them. But as I said, not quite as many on iOS, so if you want to take this kind of thing with you, then that's awesome, and it suits, this sort of gameplay suits short handheld sessions really, really well. As I said, it looks great, it sounds great, so that's cool. It's different. It's, you know, harsh but fair. Harsh fairness is really important in these kind of games, and it does that. I've got a couple of bits of. I'm actually doing pretty well despite myself. My initial plans of playing this for about 10 seconds, in the road for about 10 seconds, just to see what it was like. It's actually going to turn out, but I'm going to get quite far, much further than I thought. You think you're safe, and then you walk into them, and then they hurt you. But yeah, that was me. I got 3 floors deep, which is not too bad, not too shabby. Yeah, and at the end you can tweet out your results. You can retry, but that, you know, that just quick restarts you without doing the character upgrade stuff, which is a bit silly. But I don't know why you would want to do that. But there you go. She can do it a little bit better next time. Yeah, and that's Wayward Souls. It's by Rocket Cat. It's out on iOS next Thursday, as I'm recording this, April the 24th, and you may well want to give this a peek. It's pretty good, I think. Chris Chan for CodeUpUp.com. Thanks for watching.